Hey, what you're seeing here is the design tool. So Dan's designing this worm and planet side experience, and the design tool has a viewer which only shows you the collision shapes of the gameplay, and then I'll let him continue from there.
Yeah, well, let me run. Squeeze. We do have a lot of new people. So yeah, this is the simulation viewer, and this is not what the final player will see. But we're looking at collision shapes. Always do this demo. This is a fully 3D physics simulation, but we're just we're doing Archon Masters. It's sort of 2D. So there will be real art on top of this, but it is just a 3D physics simulation, and Fred provides objects which have physics, have collision, so I can test collision for bumping into the minerals and the lander getting it. Fred provides all those objects to me, and then I write script based on that describes the gameplay and what should happen. So the the rule that when the lander bumps these colored spheres, the mineral, when the lander bumps the mineral, the lander gets resources. That's what all this print spam on the screen is. The lander gets resources, the object goes away. All of that scripting is handled over here, and what I was about to work in as well, which is our simple scripting language. So this is something Fred has developed, which is a really simple, very clever, very powerful scripting language. I know I'm sort of like patting ourselves on the back or something here, but a really powerful scripting language where sort of the spectrum of technical to non-technical users can use it, and it still looks and reads like code, but you do a lot of mouse-driven authoring, and it's actually pretty simple. In fact, the tool is called Simple.
Yeah, and so what Dan's doing is designing the what we call the simulations, which is pretty much the physics and the scripting, and then it doesn't know anything about what's viewing it. It just throws sort of entity creation and destruction events over the fence, and depends on something to pick those up and make sense of what the viewer should see in terms of visual effects and audio effects.
Yeah, and that was earlier. I could run it. I could run it again if you wanted to see. Actually, it's so easy. Everything's so fast. I don't mind doing it. And we have new people who would maybe be confused or excited to see this, or both. I'm going for both. We want to confuse and excite you. So yeah, the game viewer. I'm just going to run Interplanetary. Um, Deals with real art. So check out our real art. Isn't it great? Or it just crashes. That was cool. I bet it doesn't like me running. Somehow I have two simple executables open. That's no problem for concern, is it? Okay. Well, it wasn't crashing earlier, so I must have done something funny. But we're in pre-alpha. Don't worry. We're crashes are allowed. Okay. So here we go. No, no, I did a I did a boo boo. Hang on. What are you looking at? What is this madness? So this is interplanetary, but if you were to look at the physics view, you might even recognize this as the Sol system from, or Sol from Urquan Masters. The art viewer, this executable supports art. Now check out all our great art. I know you really love it. It's beautiful, isn't it? So we have no art yet for Interplanetary, but we will. And all we do right now, I think when we have no art, is just draw a white square. But you can toggle between the real gameplay, which is all of this physics that you see, but eventually, that will have a nice sprite, which will be your flagship, or maybe not a sprite. It could be 3D if we wanted. We're sort of, when you talk about the engine we're using, we're halfway between doing things ourselves, and really you could hook it up to anything. If we wanted to use it in Unity, if we wanted to use it on Unreal, if we wanted to use it in our own stuff, doesn't matter. The same simulation that's happening here just gets rendered a little differently.
Yeah, the key thing is that the what Dan is doing, the simulation authoring, um, remains the same across whatever viewer you put it onto. So this makes it so that we can play multiplayer, cross-platform, across anything that you put a viewer on, and that can run a C++ simulation engine.
Exactly. Yeah, Indie Dev right now plan is 2D or Quan Master style, but the engine supports 3D if we ever. I should say the simulation is in 3D if we ever want to do things in 3D. And that is the goal, right? This tool, we're doing Recon Masters with it, but we could do other things with it too, and not just us. Someone else could do other stuff with it. So I'm just
We
looking. Oh, go ahead.
we think gameplay will stay 2D. Kind of, we're trying to intentionally do a retro remake, or not remake, a retro sequel to Urquan Masters. But the choice of view really is dependent on the view. The simulation doesn't care how it's being looked at. So we could do a virtual reality version of Melee that's from the cockpit view if we wanted to.
Or someone else could author that and say, well,
someone
while
else
you're
could.
playing Melee, here's what it would look like if you're in the cockpit or whatever.